Sonia Garrett Smith, and welcome to our team. I call our team the Dream Team. Listen, it is an honor to be able to lead you to what I call the LOP, the Land of Paradise. Now, as your team leader, I am going to be providing you with a wealth of knowledge in addition to the training that you're going to receive from your back office with myEcon. You're going to get my version of how to fill out the day-before form, plus you're going to get Ivy's version of the owner of the company, how to fill it out. By you practicing and doing both of these and listening to them, it's going to help you get your blade strong. It's going to increase your confidence so you can go ahead and build your business and talk to people better. It's imperative that you learn this form, the day-before form, inside and out, because then you will be required to fill it out for your new associate when you enroll somebody in business. You know, that's the whole substance of what our company is about, is learning that day-before form. I can't tell you over and over again how much time I spent on it when I first got signed up in business with my mentor. Listen, the more efficient you become at filling out the day-before form, the bigger your organization will grow. I've also provided the following forms which you can use to help build your team and learn how to build your organization. I put a sample day-before form in there, pages 1 and 2, where I put in the net income difference chart of a home-based business owner, and the deeply in debt article, and the pay-as-you-go article. These things that are in your back office are tools that you can use, because people are visual when you showing somebody the opportunity, or when you're talking to somebody one-on-one. People are visual, so use your tools. That's why they're there. You're not going to be able to get these tools in your back office of myEcon. It's not required for you to give a myEcon presentation, because you can just grow your business by inviting people to the webinars and getting them onto the hotel presentation. But if you're serious and if you want to be a leader, you know, at some point you might want to learn how to give the business presentation. The actual slides is in your back office too, but I've thrown some other ones in there that I talk about a lot on my webinars. Feel free to call me if you have any questions. Listen, there's an array of information back here that you can use to help build your business. I look forward to assisting you with building your organization. And welcome to the training on a form day-before form. You know, this is going to be some awesome training, because if you understand how to explain this form to someone, be able to take them to lunch and explain how to fill out this form and use all the forms that we have attached to this, man, I'm telling you, this form will change not just your life, but your grandbaby's life. I'm telling you, this form has fed me for the last 15 years. As a mortgage broker, I used to use this form to show people how to save on their taxes, or if they own a house, how to buy a house to me. If they own a house, they will be able to pay less taxes. Man, I use this form to show people how to refinance or buy a house when I was a mortgage broker, and it was incredible. But before I did that, when I was on active duty, I used to get calls from creditors telling me that my soldiers was not paying their credit card bills, so I started holding classes on this W-4 form. Two things happened. I quit getting calls from creditors, and soldiers got a pay raise. It got up to my battalion. My sergeant major, my colonel had me teaching this to the whole battalion, and before you know it, I was teaching it within the whole installation for the last 7 years of my career in the Army. And I'm telling you, this thing, I love it. And when you have a passion for something, you perfect it, it would automatically create a profit for you. This is exciting stuff, and I'm happy to share it with you. So get this form down. You should be able to know this form frontwards, backwards, sideways. You get this thing down, and now you'll be able to posture yourself in such a way to a person that you better come with me, because I am the leader that you deserve to have in your life. Man, when you are to a point in your life where you pick and choose people you want to do business with, now you'll start to see a breakthrough, and your life will start to change instantly. So let's jump right in and get started, okay? Now, before you explain anything to anybody, you definitely want to be able to know the difference between exemptions versus withholding allowances. There is a difference. You know, I used to hear people say so many times, I'm going to change my exemptions from 6 at the beginning from January to June, then I'm going to change it back to 0 at the end of the year so to balance out. Your goal is this here. You want to show people how to stop jimmy-rigging stuff and show them what they're supposed to be doing and what's the right way through the government, legally, morally, and ethically. Here's the deal. Because exemptions are claimed on your Form 1040 tax return. You are allowed one exemption for yourself, one for your spouse, and one for each qualifying dependent. You want to be able to show this to people, because they just don't know. They're not bad people. They were born with what you call a low money blueprint. Their money blueprint was dictated on how they were taught to feel and think about money. They didn't get to choose their grandparents, uncles, cousins, and their parents. Poor middle class people, they tell their kids to go outside and play. Grown folks out talking. Or you got to wait for payday to buy some, or money don't grow on, you guessed it, trees. You got to learn how to increase their money blueprint by exposing them to what we call the language of commerce. These different definitions. The beautiful thing about having a low money blueprint is that it can be raised by you associating yourself with the right people. So allowances are claimed on your Form W-4. See, people don't understand this because the purpose of the W-4 form is to assist your employer with estimating the appropriate amount to withhold from your paycheck. In English, you got to tell them what's happening in your household in order for them to decide how much to take out in taxes. The problem is with the W-4 form, I worked in human resources for 20 years, is that most people don't understand, even in the human resource department, how to fill it out. Listen, folks. Just because a person is a tax preparer, a CPA, or an accountant, don't make them financially literate. Because see, just because a person got a title, don't be impressed with a person's title because your position don't change your condition. I'm just saying. You won't be able to talk to people about this because, see, people already think they know something. And what they find out when they talk to you is they'll find out real quick that they know a whole bunch of nothing. So let me go. Let's jump right in and get started. Let's go a little bit further. Here's a 1040 tax return. The 1040 tax return is just that. That is the amount of people in your household. In this example, they got the husband and wife and 4 kids. You see where it says exemptions? That's on there for a reason. There's 6. You see what 6 is circled right here? That means that there are 6 people in that household that they're claiming on their taxes. That's what exemptions mean. However, let's go to the withholdings. The W-4 form is what you tell the government based upon what's happening in your household or how much money to take out in taxes. We're going to cover this a little bit more in detail. The W-4 form has a page 2 to this form, and we're going to cover this page a little bit more in detail. You're going to be able to understand this clearly on how to talk to people by the time I finish with you. You see where it says purpose? It says complete Form W-4 so that your employer can withhold the correct federal income tax from your pay. Consider completing a new W-4 form each year when your personal financial situation changes. Now, what does that mean? It means that every time something significant happens in your family, you get married, you get divorced, you buy a house, you sell a house, you start a business, you have a baby, it is your job to go to your HR department and tell them how much to take out in taxes. Now, if you're in the military, you work for the government, this form itself is not going to be inside of MyPay. They just want to know lines 5 and 6, which we'll get to in a minute, how much you want taken out and if any you want to give to the government. Let's jump right in the line there. It says, enter one for yourself if no one else claims you as a dependent. Folks, this is a personal allowance worksheet. It's not an exemption. So in this case, in this scenario, we have a married couple with 4 kids in this scenario, and they make $70,000 a year. Whatever your pay is, you're going to put your information in there. And whatever the person that you're teaching to, you want to ask them to bring their pay stub to lunch or to with you so that you can actually see what you're going to help them save in federal taxes, okay? Line B says, enter one if you are single and only have 1 job, or if you are married and have only 1 job and your spouse does not work, or your wages from a second job and your spouse's wages are $1,500 or less. So in this case, for line A, they put 1, and line B, they put 1, right? C says, enter 1 for your spouse, but you may choose to enter 0 if you are married and have either working spouse or more than 1 job. Entering 0 may help you avoid too little tax withheld. Now here's what's the deal. The government want to keep most people ignorant, afraid, and scared. Most people say, well, I don't want to claim too many, I don't want to get in trouble. You know, people kill me, most people are afraid, you know why? Because they're ignorant. It clearly states that if you have a spouse, put 1 for your spouse. You also want to look up here in the upper right-hand corner where it says 2 earners or multiple jobs. It says here in the upper right corner, up on a non-wage income, it says if you have a working spouse or more than 1 job, figure the total number of allowances you are entitled to claim on all jobs using worksheets from only 1 W-4 form. Your withholding would usually be most accurate when all allowances are claimed on 1 W-4 form for the highest paying job and 0 are claimed on the others. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to break this stuff down to you in English. It means that the person that's in the highest tax bracket should claim the most because they're getting hit what? The hardest. That's all that means in English. That's what you want to be able to explain to people when they say, well, I work and my spouse work. Okay, awesome. This is what we're going to do. Who makes the most money? If you got their pay stubs, you can look at it. But if you're working with the military, don't count in their base pay, their BAH or their BAS. Just count their base pay because the BAH and the BAS is not taxed. So they don't count that in as their income, okay? It's crucial that you know that. Okay, let's go to D. D says enter number of dependents other than your spouse you claim in your tax return. That's the dependents. If you're claiming, in this example, we had the married couple with 4 kids, and that's why they're claiming 4. Really simple. We're going to walk the dog on this. Hey, you got to make sure you let people know, I didn't make up the rules. I just understand the game. And you show them how to play the game with the government, legally, morally, and ethically. Because here's the deal. Your job is to articulate to them that if you don't own a business, the government's only going to give you a couple deductions and you're not going to be able to shelter your income. You want all those holes plugged into your income. We want to show them how to shelter their income and save their money and be able to plug those holes. Because there's a difference between how poor and middle class people think than wealthy people. See, wealthy people, they earn their money, they spend it second, and they're taxed on it last. Poor middle class people, they earn their money, they work hard, but they're taxed on it first, and then they try to spend on invest what's left over. It's a mindset. We helping them do what you call a paradigm shift and shifting the way they feel and think about money. They're already going to be scared to death for this form. So you got to be able to explain it to them in such a way that Stevie Wonder can see that they're giving the government all their money. E says, enter 1 if you file as head of household in your tax return. The see head of household conditions above. There's only 1 of 5 ways you can file your taxes. Married, filing joint, married, filing single, head of household, widow, and single. That's it. Married, filing joint, married, filing separate, single, head of household, and widow. You got to know how to be able to say that to people. Because people have a tendency to believe, especially a married couple, well, I'm the head of the household. But to the government, you're either married, filing joint, or you married, filing separate. You are not the head of the household if you're married. Now, there are certain cases or instances where you can file as head of the household. Let me give you an example. If you got a married couple and they're going through a divorce and they're separated, and they've been separated for 6 months or more, the person that has the dependents can claim head of the household. It's a case-by-case basis. But your job is to let them know, just because you're the man, and we know biblically the man is the head and not the tail, but to the IRS, you married, filing joint, or married, filing separate. That's the bottom line. This form is not that hard. Okay, F says, enter 1 if you have at least $2,000 of daycare, dependent care. Man, everybody knows daycare is a lot of money. It's more than $2,000 for the year, especially if you get daycare on post. They're pretty expensive. I went through that for quite a few years with my kids. Let's go to G. G says if your total income is, if you're single, $65,000 or less, $95,000 if you're married, enter 2 for each eligible child. Now, this is very important. You got to go on and read. It says if you have less 1, if you have 3 to 6 kids, eligible kids, enter less 2 if you have 7 or more. But listen, less 1 if you have 3 to 6 eligible kids. So in this case, if this couple has 4 kids, 4 times 2 is 8. Less 1 because they have 3 to 6, so they put 7 on that line. Did y'all get that? Let me say that again. Because a lot of people struggle with this bullet right here, and it's really not that hard. Less 1 if you have 3 to 6 eligible children. Less 2 if you have 7 or more children. The average person got about 2 or 3 kids, so don't get all wrapped up about that number. If they got 3 or more, 3 to 6, put 1 less number. 3 times 2 in this couple's case is 8. Less 1 because they got 3 to 6 kids. Let's go to the next bullet. If your total income is $65,000 to $84,000 if you're single, and $95,000 to $119,000 if you marry, enter 1 for each eligible child. See, the more money you make, the less that they're giving because they're changing, your tax bracket has changed. Anything more than $120,000, they don't get anything. They fell out of that tax bracket. You don't have to jimmy rig anything. Line H is also important. Add lines A through G and enter the total number here. Note, make sure you read this note to them. That's why I circle. This may be different from the number of exemptions you claim in your tax return. That's why you got to be able to articulate to them the difference between an exemption, as you can see here on the 1040 tax return. Exemptions, this number is going to be 6, but when you go to your W-4 form, it's 14 because we added up the G. From A through G, we added those numbers up. 7, 11, 12, 13, 14. That number is going to be significantly higher. Now let's move on to what I call page 2 scandal, the W-4 form. If you own a house or business, you get to fill out this form. And the note says, use this worksheet only if you plan to itemize deduction, claim certain credits or adjustment to income. I only want you to read just this part when you're talking it to people. Enter an estimate of your 2014 itemized deductions. These include qualified home mortgage interest, charitable contributions, state and local taxes. That's all you're required to read. Don't get too deep because they're already going to be intimidated by the form in the beginning. This form right here to me is the most important portion of the training or the presentation that when you're sitting down with somebody. This business tax deduction advantage. If you can show them this, people are visual. You want to be able to show them. This is an example, and I want you to be able to show them this example this way. Don't go getting fancy. You got to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't go letting your hands all up. You just find out this information. You ain't ready to let go. Hold your hands on the steering wheel and follow it just like I'm going to teach it to you, okay? This is an example of 3 married couples. They all have 2 kids and none of them own a house. Plus, they get the standard deduction of the $12,000 plus the $15,600. Now, these numbers, the $3,900 and that $12,400, they come from the back page of the W-4 form, the $12,400, as well as the back page of the 1040 tax return. Because you may have someone ask you where'd you get those numbers from. And know your business. It's your business. You got to mind your business. So if their exemptions equaled out to $28,000. That's how I got that number. So you take the $28,000 and you subtract it from the $70,000 for couple number 1. They're paying taxes on $42,000. I can do their taxes in 5 minutes. You know why? Because they don't own anything. They're not sheltered. They don't own anything, so the government's not going to allow them to shelter their hard-earned money. Couple number 2, they want more money, but guess what they going to get? A job. You know what the acronym JOB stands for, right? Just over broke because they're busy jumping out of bed. Because they got a job. They going to fill out a W-4 form. You know what W-4 stands for? Working for the man. Okay, I'll stay focused. But you might be able to use that. Then they get a W-2 at the end of the year. Know what W-2 stand for? Working too hard. I done said that many times. I don't know why I feel like I got to laugh every time I say it. Okay, let's get back focused. We were conditioned as a society to go get a job. These people wanted more money. They went out and got a job. They made $12,000 that year. Now they done put themselves in the worst tax bracket than couple number 1. Because they got to wear shelter. They hard their money. They got all them holes plugged in it. This is what you got to be able to show people. See, couple number 3, they linked up with you. They went and got them a part-time business. They made $12,000 for their part-time business, but listen, guess what? They were able to shelter their hard-earned money. You only want to cover 3 of these examples. Let's talk about the car and truck. See, the government says you must be in pursuit of an income. If you drive your car to a business opportunity, you get 56.5 cents for every 1 mile you drive your car. The bottom line is you're just going to drive your car anyway. Why not be able to shelter your money? You can either write off your expenses or you can write off your mileage. Typically, if you drive more than 10,000 miles a year, you should it will be in your best interest to do your mileage because you get more money. In this case, this couple got $5,475. If you have a child, you know you can hire your child, because if Wendy's can hire your child or Burger King, you can hire your child too to empty out the trash, do your receipts, do your filing. You can write off your child too. I do that with my son. I'll pay him through the business. I'll make him empty out some trash. We got a contract. We give them a contract too when they sign up in myEcon. And then they're able to show that when instead of them going shopping, they go shopping they transfer the money from your business account to their debit card. You shelter that money. You was going to pay for them school clothes anyway. Wait. Communications. If you have a cell phone, if you got 2 lines in your house, you can write off one of the lines. If you can write off a portion of your electricity, your utilities, internet bill, because we do business online, that's tax deductible. If you only have 1 cell phone, you can write off a portion of that for your business. In this case, this couple wrote off $1,500. Meals. If you talk to somebody about your opportunity, you meet somebody, or even if you go Dutch and you pass your card out to somebody, if you pay $50 for that meal, you're going to get 50% of that money, $25 back. You see, you're exposing people to these tax laws, and these are things that they're going to be able to get back that they're doing anyway every day. And this couple, number 3's example, they wrote off $25,000. However, they said they was going to make $12,000 because your average person make $12,000 in the business. This is just an example. It can be substantially higher. This is just a small number. So people are like, how did you get that number? Listen, folks, it ain't that serious. They made $12,000. So now their total income is $82,000. So their total deductions came up to $28,000. Boom, that number came out to $54,000. The additional deductions now came out to they got the standard deductions of the $28,000 plus the business write-offs of the $25,000. They're paying taxes on $29,000. See, this is where you got to be able to say, now what does couple number 3 know that couple number 2 and the couple number 1 don't know? You say, that would be me. I always do that. I'm telling you, that $25,000 and that $12,000 that they made, you're going to subtract that number. That's the number, folks, that's going to roll over to page 2 of the W-4 form. Bam! So let's go back to reading up that note. This couple owned the house. Use this worksheet only if you plan to itemize deduction or claim certain credits or adjustments to income. Now, if that couple owned the house, what you want to get is their mortgage payment. multiply it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. And you want to subtract out their principal and insurance because it's not tax deductible. So in this example, their interest was $8,672. Their taxes was $3,546. So out of that $21,300, you can estimate about 1% of that is going to principal and insurance because that's not tax deductible. So in this couple's case, they were able to write off $12,218. And then, I read number 1 to you. Enter an estimate of your itemized deductions, charitable contributions, state and taxes. They went to church, they tithe. This whole back page from this point on, folks, is going to be estimate. Because the government know when you go to your job, you're not carrying all this tax paper information around with you. Okay? You got to understand and be able to explain to people what this page 2 means. So they wrote off their tithes. This couple gave $2,000 a year in tithes. Goodwill. You can write off up to $499 with goodwill each year without a receipt. Let me tell you why you don't want to go over $499. The state is broke, and if you go over $499, you may get audited. If you get audited, they're going to want to know that they're going to want to see an appraisal form that the stuff that you took to goodwill, how much it was really worth. Folks, don't go over $499. You don't want to have to play games with the government because by the time you hire an appraisal to check it in, to look at the stuff, the junk that you take into the goodwill anyway, they may cost you more than what the stuff is worth. So don't go over $499. It's really that simple, okay? So in this case, remember they had the business income of $12,000, and they had the business expenses of $25,000. We took the $12,000, subtracted from the $25,000. We're going to use that $13,000 on line number 4 later. So we add the $12,218 to the $2,000. The $12,218 is for the interest and the taxes on the house. The $2,000 is for the tithes, and the $499 is for the goodwill. Goodwill. So that equals $14,717. That's what goes on line number 1. If they don't own the house and they tithe and do goodwill, you put whatever they tithes are in goodwill on line number 1. If they don't do none of them, then you skip all the way down to line number 4. Okay, so in this case, they had this number $14,717. It says enter $12,400 if they're married, filing joint. Line number 2, whatever that situation is for line number 2, that's what you want to put on line number 2. Line number 3 says subtract line number 2 from line number 1. If 0, less than 0. They got $2,317. Line number 4 says enter an estimate of your 2014 adjustments to income and any additional standard deduction. That's where that number comes in out of that $13,000. People want to know, how did you get $13,000? It's the example that you got from the 3 couples that all make $70,000 a year. Couple number 3 is the one that had got the business expenses of $25,000, and they had the business income of $12,000, and that's how you got that $13,000. Line number 5 says add lines 3 and 4. All you're doing is bringing that number down. In this couple example, they got $15,317. Line number 6 says enter an estimate of your 2014 non-wage income, such as dividends or interest. Guess what we want you to put on this line? 0. We don't want you jimmy-ringing anything. So they're not going to have that number. Have them put 0. It's not that difficult. Line number 7 says subtract line number 6 from line number 5. If 0 less than 0, you just bringing that number down. Line number 8 is very important. It says divide the amount of line number 7 by $3,950 into the result here. Drop any fraction. So they divide the $3,950 by $15,317, and they got 3. It says drop the fraction. Don't round up, don't round down. Just leave the fraction alone. What's behind that number, okay? Line number 9 says enter the number from the personal allowance worksheet, line H, page 1. We got 14 from the front page. If you recall, let's go back to page 1. We got that number. All we did was brought it over to line number 9, 14. Line number 10 says add lines 8 and 9 and enter the total number here. We got 17 for this couple. Now guess what? The information up under at the bottom of the W-4 form, the 2 earner multiple jobs, if you walk through that bottom portion of the W-4 form, they're going to take everything away from you. There are 3 times on this form where the government's going to give you money and try to take it away. Line number C where it says enter one for your spouse, and then line number 6 where it says additional amount, if any, you won't be withheld in the bottom page of the W-4 form. See, it's important that you know that. And here where it says additional amount of any you won't withheld, that's the second time they're trying to take your hard-earned money. If you do not have an automated system at your job, you want to go ahead and have them fill out this form. You can have them fill this form out because now you've created the money. If they don't have the money to join myEcon, or once they sign up, you definitely want to walk them through this form just like I just did and get them these tax deductions. This form is used for you in myEcon as a recruiting tool. So most people don't understand this form because they're intimidated by it, number one. And the HR people, they're not bad people. I worked in HR for 20 years, and it wasn't until I met the folks in myEcon that showed me how to properly show soldiers how to fill out this W-4 form. Because the only thing we gave these soldiers, the soldiers when I was on active duty, was the bottom portion. We didn't give them the top, and I saw the back, but my NCOIC said, put that away. My supervisor said, put that away. You know why? Because they want us asking them no questions. So I did what I was told because I didn't know what I was doing anyway. My parents couldn't tell me how to fill this form out. The Army didn't when I went to school. So it's imperative that you be able to expose these tax laws to people and help them save their money. You owe that to them. Here's an example. You want to be able to use this example, use their pay stub, tell them to put out theirs of a person that was paying almost $500 a month. We showed them how they joined myEcon. We showed them how to properly fill out that W-4 form. Now you've created $500 in a check. Man, that's why we call it myEcon, because we show people how to create their own economy. Can you imagine now being able to show people how to shelter $500 to $1,000 per month in their check? That's incredible, folks. This is life-changing, and it's empowering. That's why I love it. That's why I say if you perfect this, and you get a passion for it, you perfect it, it will create you a profit that will change your life beyond belief. I've been doing the same W-4 form over and over and over. Repetition until you get your skill craft so built. You build your foundation, man. Listen, we want to show you how to articulate and how to understand how to fill out this form, how to show other people how to fill out this form. You are a part of myEcon now, and we want to show you how to be, not just, be debt-free, but free. Drop the debt in a hyphen to be free. Free to do what you want, when you want, under your own terms. Learn how to fill this form out. Learn it over and over. Teach it to your upline, downline, sideline, your partners. Teach it, practice it on everybody until you got it to a point the way you can rattle this stuff off. I can ask a person a few questions, and I can tell them exactly how many deductions they're supposed to be getting inside of their W-4 form. But see, I walk them through the form, you know why? Because while one finger is pointing at me, telling me what I can't do, 3 fingers are pointing right back at them, telling them what they can't do. Because see, when you understand rules, then and only then can you effectively play the game. Folks, I'm Sonia Garrett Smith. I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this W-4 form training. Get prepared to be empowered. I will see you at the top. Recruit and Grow Rich. Have a fantastic day.